Hey, comic fans, Scott Harris King here, and as you can see, I'm still here on the couch of solitude. As I mentioned before, kind of hurt my feet recently. It's been making it really hard to record these videos, particularly because I'm going on a long vacation soon, so it's going to be really tough for me to get around on that trip. So I'm saving up all my foot energy for the vacation. The result is I'm going to try and do a video lying down here, but as promised, it's going to be the next part of my Conan Complete Run Madness, starting here with issue 151. Now, just real quick to remind everyone where we are here. In previous videos, the first video we did issues 1 to 24, which is the Barry Windsor Smith run. Then we did issues 25 to 57, the beginning of the John Buscema run. 58 to 100 was the third video, and that's the Belit Pirate Queen of the Black Coast storyline. And then last time we did issues 101 to 150, which saw the end of the Roy Thomas era and the beginning of just some aimless wandering. So this video is probably not going to be that long because I haven't actually read all of these. And I say that I've actually read most of them, but I read them when they came out. So that's almost 40 years ago. I haven't really reread them since. But I'm still going to show them off here. I do have a few comments here. Now, I mentioned this last time. That was 151. This is sort of a period of the book where Buscema feels like he's kind of phoning it in a little bit. Here's 152, not a Buscema cover. But we're going to see Buscema's covers sort of get simpler and simpler as we go. Again, here's another cover that's not him. This is Gary Quapitz. I don't know. Quapis. I don't know how to say his name, but here's 153 by him. He also did 154. And you can see here that, hopefully you can see there, that Gary signed my copy of 154. These are issues that, again, I haven't read these in 35 years, so I don't really remember what happens here other than nothing particularly of note. So Buscema is back here on the cover starting with 156, and when you look at these covers compared to say the work he was doing when he first started the book like 10 years earlier, it's much simpler, more basic layouts. You can really see like a lot of flat colors, no background, stuff like this here. I mean, Buscema's a tremendous artist, but it doesn't really feel like he's necessarily, putting his all into making these awesome. He's sort of going through the motions. Now he considered comics to just be his day job. He wasn't really that invested in it. Conan was the one series that he actually enjoyed doing. He didn't really like the superhero stuff. But I think by this point, the shine was kind of off even the Conan stuff. Because again, even as great as his line work still is, it just doesn't have the heart that some of his early work did. So that was 159. Here's 160. This is not a Buscema cover, I don't think, unless someone very strange was inking it. But these next ones are definitely Buscema, and you can see this sort of like composition's fine, but no background, just these flat colors. It's very sort of like late 70s DC in terms of the simplicity of it. And it really makes a lot of these covers feel very samey. Now this is Ernie Chan, speaking of late 70s DC. It's a cool cover, but we're just kind of getting a lot of these, I don't recognize the signature on this, but at least it's sort of a different style here. This is almost to the point where I started reading. So we'll get to that in just a second. Here's 165. Sort of a more detailed, intricate cover. 166, again, Buscema with a very sort of simplified scheme there. 167, this is a Kaluta cover. I was like, boy, that looks like Kaluta. It is. Now, Kaluta did a few Conan things at this time. He did several covers over on Conan the King right around this same time. But here he is doing a cover on the main book. Now, it's possible I got that one off the stands, not this copy, but this issue. It's hard for me to say. This is right around when I started picking it up. This cover, however, I'm certain that I had. So this is the first issue of Conan that I remember for a fact getting off of the stands, 168. So this may have been my first issue of Conan. It's very early in my comic reading journey. So I'm opening it up here to take a look at it. It's cover dated March 85, which means that it was that it actually came out probably in December of 84. And I started reading, collecting comics in 84. So I bought a couple issues at the beginning of 84, and then I had a break until the fall of 84, and that's when I started reading again, and that's when this is. I can particularly tell that it's one of the earliest sort of second wave of comics that I got when I really started getting into it, because it has a 60-cent cover price. A very, very few 60 centers. Most of the comics when I first started were 65 cents. So this is one of the only, in fact, you can see the next issue of Conan is the first 65-cent issue. So that's one of the only Marvels that I got at the 60-cent price point, because it would have just been a couple months of those. All right, so this is 169. So this is when I've just started reading. The composition of this with the guy falling back and everyone Conan up on top. It's reminiscent. It's very reminiscent of a famous Frazetta cover that he did for EC. I forget what the issue number was. I think it was Weird Science Fantasy, like 40 or something. I don't remember, but it's a famous cover of like these cavemen or whatever fighting on the side of this mountain. The guy falling off the side like that. All right, let me grab the next batch here. So this is 1985, early 85, and so I would have been 11, just about to turn 12 when these issues are coming out. And I was really big into Conan at the time. When I first got into comics, I've said this before, but wasn't getting like the superhero stuff. It took a while for me to get into superhero books. When I first started, it was licensed stuff mostly, and it was fantasy and science fiction. So Conan, Red Sonja, Star Wars, Micronauts, ROM. Those are the things that I was getting, and things that seemed like those. Like Warlord was an early book I got because it was fantasy, and Thor, which again felt like very fantasy. It was during the Simonson run, and that's what eventually got me into superhero stuff, was through reading Thor. But Conan was a big thing. I was getting not just into the comics, but I was getting Savage Sword of Conan, which was very eye-opening for an 11 or 12-year-old. But I was also reading some of the novels, so some of the adult Conan novels at the time. So I was really getting into the whole world of Conan and stuff like this. So these are covers I remember, like 171. These are all books that I got off of the stands. And again, you can see they're kind of like, we've got 3 issues here in a row with just the same sort of flat red background, although this cover's a lot more detailed than those first 2 that I showed you. There's a whole storyline here that's going on with Conan and this woman that he's rescuing here. This was a cover that as a kid I quite liked. I'm a big fan of yellow covers, and it's a very striking sort of cover design. But again, I find a lot of these now to be just kind of too simple. Here's 175. I definitely had this. I had all of these issues as a kid. I bought all of them off of the stands. 76. This looks like another Ernie Chan cover. And 77. More Ernie Chan. Doing some really good work here. Much prefer this work actually to his DC stuff from the 70s. One by one, I'm just knocking every single thing off of this table here. 178. Again, very simple, flat color background. Again, really good, composition, line work, whatever, but very, very plain in a way that Buscema definitely does not need to be. 179. I don't remember this cover. I think around this point, there might have been a couple issues here and there where I was maybe missing some. I just don't remember these, but I hadn't given up on the book yet. We're going to come to a point pretty soon where I quit reading Conan, but 181, some sort of weird looking monster, looks like something from the Star Wars comics at the time. You can see we're already up to 75 cents. Did not stick around the 65-cent price point very long. 182. $183, and like this is just, sorry for the glare, but honestly, this is just not cutting it in terms of the cover art. It's just not. $184. I mean, this one's more detailed. It's not Buscema, but like I don't really care for this one either. Like, got a string of really kind of uninspiring covers here. 185. Another Buscema cover, although at least there's a background on this one. $186. Now we're getting right around the point where I stopped reading the series. $186. I might have already dropped it at this point. It's actually a little hard for me to remember because I don't really recognize these covers. They didn't like stick in my head the way a lot of like things that I would have gotten early on in my collecting did. But that might just be because they're so boring. But I think I was still reading off and on up to around this point. So here's the 25th anniversary cover. So cover date November 1986. Checking to see. I don't know who the artist is in this one. It could be Buscema. I don't know. It's a little weird, but it's not my favorite. Don't really love it. 189. I wish I had a little more to say about these other than just I had kind of quit by this point, I think. Just taking a quick look ahead. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd quit reading the series at this point. And I remember really liking some of those ones in the 170s that I was talking about, where there was a storyline where he was rescuing that girl, and then like they were on some sort of journey where he was protecting her. Like I liked that storyline, but it didn't really hold me. I really preferred Savage Sword of Conan at this time. They could just do more with the characters and the situations and stuff. Here's 190. Even though I found the continuity in Savage Sword of Conan to be kind of difficult to follow sometimes because they were not consistent with it. 191. $192. And one thing that's interesting here is we seem to have actually seen the end of Buscema on the book here, at least in terms of the covers. And I think this is right around the time when he left the book. So I think the consensus, I think my guess is, and I haven't looked at the sales figures, inside the books, but I'm pretty sure that the sales have started to slip here. And so now, like, this cover is Val Zemeckis with Jeff Isherwood. And we do see those people working on this book quite a bit in this period. 194. Uh, 195. This is an Andy Kubert cover, and I'm not a big fan of it, but one thing that's interesting is if you look at the figure of Conan here. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good view of this where you can see it without the glare, but it's almost impossible. Okay, take a look at Andy Kubert's Conan there. I mean, when I saw that, I thought that it was his father, Joe Kubert. And I was like, Joe Kubert did a Conan cover? This is Andy Kubert either channeling his father more than I think I've ever seen, or potentially maybe his father helped with the inks or something. Just the figure of Conan, the face, like just the line work on the shoulder is just so Joe Kubert. But the cover as a whole, I don't really care for. 196. Okay, we got this is Jeff Isherwood, and we've got Red Sonja in this story now. This is I don't want to get into details of the story, but it's a controversial story, and they bring in some stuff from Red Sonja's origin that I wish they didn't, because she has a terrible, terrible origin when she was at Marvel. But here's, regardless of that, I still had Jeff Isherwood sign this cover because it is a really cool Red Sonja cover. And then she's wearing her 80s costume, which is this blue one piece. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention this, but through this whole run, or through a lot of this, Conan is wearing this blue shirt. That's sort of become his de facto costume for a lot of the early 80s, is just this sort of blue shirt. You don't see him shirtless the way that traditionally, in the 70s and the classic Conan look, he's shirtless, right? But for some reason, I don't know why they gave him a shirt here in the 80s. Even here, he's got this shirt on here, right? So really cool cover, but again, like, it's just some odd design choices with the covers, and just I don't know why they gave Conan like a sleeveless shirt. Here's another Jeff Isherwood cover. This is a really cool cover. I like this one. This big scary guy. Conan's trying to save the kid. Here's another one, almost identical sort of design here. Jeff Isherwood, and once again, it's Conan fighting the same guy, and the guy's still got the kid in his arms. But this time the guy is on some sort of evil Pegasus. So it's a little bit different. It's also a little bit odd that like I guess I don't know if it's a coloring thing, but like Conan's outfit here is definitely a different color than the outfit he's wearing during the same fight sequence on the next cover. Whatever though. And then here we are, issue 200. And you know, they make it feels like this might be an oversized issue, but it doesn't say anything on the cover. It doesn't say 200th issue. It is $1.50 instead of $1, so I think it is oversized. But like, there's nothing here even saying giant size, double size, anniversary issue, issue 200. There's nothing to say that it's a special issue. So it's a cool cover. Unusually, Conan is wearing armor on the cover here. But yeah, so not the best era of Conan there. But we see a distinct changing of the guard. So we get to sort of the end of the John Buscema run. And as great as he is, legendary as he is, I think past time. And then mixed results for what comes, what came after him. But we get people with like a firm direction, at least on Conan for a little while. Now, next time I'll be showing, next time I do a Conan video, of course, it'll be issues 201 to 250. And that covers a lot of weird things. We're going to see some hot young artists giving us their take on Conan, including Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Will Sportatio. And we're also going to see a weird change of direction. I mean, the whole series of Conan has been chronologically, but at some point they're going to basically, Roy Thomas comes back and it basically resets the series back to tales of filling in the gaps of tales of Conan as a youth, like as a teenager. And it gets very weird. But we're going to see some cool stuff from some unexpected creators next time. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.